Hello and welcome to Paradigm Playbook, a podcast for entrepreneurs in the business of sports. Your hosts, Dave Kozak and Steve Cook, are business owners, successful entrepreneurs, sports enthusiasts, avid readers, and longtime friends. For years, they've read every business book on the market and built successful companies with what they've learned. This podcast will give you the critical takeaways in just 15 minutes a week. It's a quick and easy playbook for building a winning sports business. And now, here are your hosts, Dave and Steve.
Did we help you learn, grow, and improve? Leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Paradigm Playbooks podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kozak, alongside my co-host, Mr. Steve Cook.
Morning, David.
Sir, welcome home.
Yeah, it's great to be back. I just got back from an exciting trip in San Jose, California, where I attended USA Gymnastics National Championships and Coaches Congress. And we've got some interviews coming from there that'll be a lot of fun coming up later this month.
Awesome. And did you present? Did you learn? Did you talk? What did you do, Steve?
Yeah, I was there as a presenter. So, and it's a topic that we can get into. A lot of the people in the sports world have a waiting list. And my presentation was how to flip your waiting list into a revenue stream. So I like the fact that there's a lot of people wanting to do sports. I don't like the fact that we make them wait in line. So let's figure out ways to fit them in. And that's what it was about. We had a great following there. It was an exciting time.
Awesome. And we'll get into that subject on a later date. But before I jump into today's show, we need to make sure we introduce our color man in the background here, Mr. Niall Cummins. Niall's on the show as well. Good morning, Niall.
Of course. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Niall. So
today's conversation, I think, is going to start a sequence of episodes on this subject because this is a subject that's near and dear to all businesses, and it's customer service. And so, Steve, I think we're going to get deep in customer service, and you'll see the tentacles that kind of stem out from customer service into all parts of business. But first question to you is, where does customer service start?
Yeah, I think that's the most critical. So I'm of the belief that customer service starts pre-sale. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the relationship building in advance is the setup for all customer service. So if you take the time to build that relationship up front, that makes the customer service natural and not a chore.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key. It's not, you can't say customer service is sending out a holiday card or remembering their birthday. It's everything. And I think once you determine where it starts, then the next big question is who in your organization is in customer service?
Well, I can certainly address that one.
I knew you would love that one.
So I have this kind of mentality that sales is customer service with a solution. And so everybody is part of customer service. Every single person that interacts with a client is part of customer service. Even those that don't interact, but have a play in how a customer's experience goes is part of customer service. I'll use an example. Every once in a while, we have a dissatisfied client that needs a refund or wants a refund, and we honor that request in our business. And that refund comes out from my accounting team. Mm-hmm. And so even the way that my accounting team addresses those refunds and sends those emails or letters or notes is with a customer service mindset. Because you never know why they chose not to, the honest reason they chose to ask for the refund. But at the end of the day, if it goes smoothly, even in a situation where the person doesn't do business with you, if it goes smoothly, they may be the first person to recommend you for somebody else. And so customer service starts at the top and it goes all the way down. I always say in our business, we are customer service representatives that specialize in finance, college, and planning, right? And property and casualty insurance. So we have a litany of service offerings, but at the end of the day, we're customer service. Because if you do customer service right, all customer service is understanding the situation, providing a solution and a timetable and a clear expectation. And how is that different than sales, Steve?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. And, the book that we talk about all the time is Relentless Solution Focus. And I think that's the biggest key to customer service. It's not dwelling on the problem, even though that's paramount in the customer's head. It's getting off of that, taking your 60 seconds, absorb the problem, and then starting on the solution side. Even if it's not the final solution, knowing that you're on that solution side is the way to go. I also think if you don't do that, you allow the networking effect of negative communication to start taking over. And we all know that networking works to grow your business. It can also work very well to kill your business if you let that happen. And there can be a tribe that's against you just as well as there's a tribe that's on your side.
Yeah, without question. And I think one of the easiest ways to be successful in business is to set clear expectations. And we do a training system in our business where we're in the age of instant gratification, essentially. So customer service is at the forefront of instant gratification. And what people in business think is that you have to solve the problem right then and there and have a crystal clear outcome at that moment. And I think that's just false. I think one of the things that people want to know is that there is a sequence of events that is going to occur and a follow through that is going to happen. And as long as that stage is set, then customer service has been achieved, right? We use the example all the time. People call in and they're up in arms about something and they need help and say, okay, well, let me really understand the problem. And you get to the root of the problem and you present a potential solution and then you present a timetable to the solution. And what I always say is, if you think you can get it done in 15 minutes, tell them within the next half hour. If you think you can get it done in the next hour, tell them in the next 2 hours. If you think you can get it done in the morning, tell them by the end of the day. If you think you can get it done in that day, tell them by the next day. Buy yourself double the time you think it's going to take you so that if other things arise that truly are emergency focuses, you have bought yourself the ability of time. Second to that is, if you think you can get it done in 15 minutes, you buy yourself a half hour and you get it done in 15 minutes, then when you deliver that solution to the client, whether it's verbally, in an email, in whatever the result is, say, hey, listen, I thought it was going to, I didn't think I was going to be able to get to it immediately. I was able to do it. I really care about your business, or we appreciate your business, and hopefully this has been satisfactory. And so we talk in our business about what I call the rock star transfer of influence. And Steve, that would be me saying to a third person, hey, you need to talk to Steve Cook. He's the best in the business. If I had your problem, I would go talk to him. Well, you can be your own rock star transfer if you want to be. You can create the perception of absolute awesomeness if you want to, but it requires you to take and say a few things in a customer service sequence to do so. So again, Steve, if you came to me with a problem and I said, listen, I'm jammed up for the next hour, but I think I can get it done in the next 2 hours, and I get it done in a half hour. Steve, right after we hung up the phone, you know what? I realized this is probably critically important to you. I jumped right on it. I was able to get it done. I appreciate you being candid with us, and here's the solution, right? And all of a sudden, what do you think?
Wow, I am important.
Yeah.
So I think, and I have this in the corporate world, I found that, this was a bit of a problem because a lot of the people that were labeled customer service felt that the number one thing was truthfulness, and it's not. The number one thing is authenticity. And so truthfully, you can give an open-ended response. I will get right on this. That means nothing. I'll get to, I'll call you back as soon as I have an answer. I will transfer this upstream. I will refer this to, none of those open-ended responses are worth anything if it doesn't have a deadline on the response. So the way you presented it, and I like buying that little bit of extra time for yourself. So if it's going to be, 2 days, or 1 day, say 2, or 2 days, say a week, but give them a defined answer. I will get back to you by the end of the week. Then if you don't have the answer, you still have to get back to them within that time frame and apologize for not hitting your target and give them the new target. So that's all part of RSF. And it's coming up with a solution, even if it's not the right one, communicating clearly and being authentic about it. So if in manufacturing, we often had product flaws. It's not authentic to say, "Oh, geez, that's never happened before."
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Here's what we did before. Let me see if I can solve that. I'll get back to you within an hour.
Or, well, that is uncharacteristic. I'm sure it's happened to others, but it is a rarity. Let me figure out the best way to approach this, and I'll correspond back with you. I gotta run it up the ladder. It's probably going to take me to the end of the day to get that. Is it okay if I give you a response tomorrow? Then you get your butt out of your seat. You walk into the person that can solve that problem. You get the answer right then and there, and you start crafting the success in the whole thing at that moment, right? It's all in the presentation. If someone is calling or emailing or standing in front of you and they're hemming and hawing, right? Is that person genuinely looking for customer service? Or are they just trying to bluster and bark and bite, right? You have to figure that out. That's part of customer service is, sir, I understand you're upset. You can yell at me all you want. I didn't do it. I can help you solve it, but you have to give me the grace to solve it, right?
Right. But you do have to understand their frustration and allow them that, that negative response without you having a negative to their negative. So correct. I think you have to, one, stay authentic, allow them to say their piece, and then continue to move on. I like the way you said it'd be okay if I get back to you. I think asking permission for the follow-up too often, and we find this in sales and customer service, and we'll get back to in a minute that line where that takes over, but where we fall back on excuses. Well, geez, I sent you an email. Didn't you get it? You know what? If they didn't get it, that's still your fault. I called you twice, but I didn't get through. It's still your fault. You call it a different time. I got very annoyed with my sales team. When I got, have you made contact with, there's a new facility opening. We need to talk to them. No, but I've sent them 3 emails. Well, obviously emailing doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that. And with customer service, I don't buy it either. You must speak to the true customer.
Well, and I think there's another issue that arises in customer service where people go, "It's not my fault," or "I didn't do it. It wasn't like it was." It doesn't matter. Right. If the customer is upset about something happened,
right?
And whether you did something or didn't do something is inconsequential and obsolete. It's the fact that the customer perceives it away. And if that is how they see it or how they feel, then you have to deal with it. I talk about this all the time. When someone calls in and there's an issue and, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm going, it doesn't matter if you did anything wrong. It matters if you listened and created the solution in that moment to help solve whatever that person's problem is.
And I also think it doesn't matter who the complaint goes to. So I'm in the gym and there's 3 treadmills that are always out of service. There's a gentleman there that's mopping the floor next to me, and I complained to him. He went, got an answer, and he didn't just say, yeah. He went, got an answer, and told me when he thought they would be serviced. And, he's there every day. So I think customer service starts at the top, goes all the way through everybody in your organization. But it's up to you. If you're the entrepreneur, the manager, the CEO, it's up to you that the response to customers is consistent and authentic.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, you're chomping at the bit. What do you got?
Chomping at the bit here. So there's been a saying that I've heard a whole bunch, and that is that the customer is always right. Is there any legitimacy to this?
It's a good question. And no, the customer's not always right, but it's always your problem, right? That's the difference in it. So the customer is not always right in a situation, but it is your problem as the entrepreneur, the company, the person on the receiving end to deal with it, right? That's a reality. What I think happens is people get combative as opposed to consultative and solution focused, right? And we talk about RSF, relentless solution focus. So, all right, this happened. You can't dismiss the feelings of another person in how something happened. So in their head, they are right. And in their head, your company is the one that caused the wrong or did the thing. So it's not that the customer is always right. It's that it is always your problem to deal with. And so you have to create the solution. And sometimes the solution, Niall, to that is Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, or ma'am, or sir, or whoever. I understand your concern. I was not involved in that senorio, but I can help you solve this problem. Or that's not something we do here. And so, unfortunately, while I'd like to, be able to deliver this on a silver platter to you, it's just not something that we have.
Hey, if you're enjoying Paradigm Playbook Podcast, please share and tag us on social media. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Dave, I think one of the issues with that, if the customer is not right, they may be right based on their perception or their expectation. And maybe within your organization, you have to look back and, if customer says, I didn't hear from anybody for a week, and you say, well, normally we get back to everybody within 2 weeks, so we're on schedule. Well, then the company has set a bad expectation, and that's what comes back to haunt you. So I agree with Dave. The customer's not always right, but they're always deserving of respect and an answer, and you don't always have to say, yes, Mr. Customer, you're correct, we're wrong. That's not always the case, but you owe them an honest and authentic answer.
You want to be on the same side of the problem with the customer. You don't want to be you versus them. It's like you and them versus the problem. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if you say, oh, geez, you know what? Now that you mention it, I understand why you felt that way, and maybe we have to make an adjustment in our systems. So, and I was going to get into this, but there's a customer service aspect to everything in your business, including your processes. So one of the processes that we talk about all the time is answering the phone. And so what is connected to answering the phone? Where does customer service begin on that? Well, it's the pitch. Can we hear the smile? Go ahead, David.
Starts with your name. I can tell you without any reservation, the most customer-centric thing you can do is when you pick up the phone, announce who you are. I'm telling you right now, my kids make fun of me all the time. I pick up my cell phone and I may or may not know who's calling, and I'll say, hey, this is Dave.
Yeah.
And that instantaneously gives them the person to talk to. It humanizes the person on the other end of the phone. It humanizes the environment you're in. And, oh, Steve, wow, I didn't expect to get you. I've done it. I've done it for 15 years, Steve. The phone rings in my office on my desk, right? I sometimes, in fairness, I'm a busy person and I have it off. But if I have it on, everybody in this office knows to pick it up first, because I will pick up the phone and I'll say, hey, this is Dave. Paradigm Financial Group, this is Dave. And they'll go, Dave Kozak? Yes, Dave Kozak. What can I do for you?
So I have the exact same habit. We didn't talk about this before, but I answer my phone that way. I answer my cell phone without looking at the caller ID, so I do it all the time. The funniest is when my wife calls, and I say, hello, this is Steve. And she says, I know, I called you. Yes,
mine goes, Ange goes, hello, Dave, every time. And because I'll hear it vibrate and I'll just go to pick it up. Well, which I want to tell a story about that too, because I think this is cool. So our business partner, Matt, started me in the insurance business in 2009. 2009, and insurance and financial services. And we were sitting, and I was cold calling at the time, 250 dials a week to make 30 contacts, to make 15 pre-qualified businesses, to sell 5 deals. Did it
for X.
Did it.
Yep.
All years. That's how we got successful. It was painstaking. It was the discipline to be successful. I sacrificed a lot of nights to do that, to make sure I made money and had success. And so that's another point. One of the favorite quotes I have is, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice, end. But and what was I saying about this? Hold on. Oh, and so why I pick up the phone all the time. I get spam calls relentlessly. I get all kinds of calls. But we were sitting in there and I was like, dude, I hate when people hang up on me. And he goes, well, do you pick up the phone at your house when people call you? And I go, well, not if I don't know the number. And he goes, well, shame on you. And at that moment, I started to pick up every phone call because I'm doing a job that requires people to pick up the phone to be successful. And so if I don't pick up the phone, I'm essentially one of the people I hate in the whole process. So I've just always picked up the phone. Now I can end it very quickly, right? Yeah. I know how to be respectful and shut it down.
So as I tend to give a polite response to the people that I want to hang up on. I do it with a little humor, but so you can or you can't do that. That's up to you. One of the other things, so I agree with you. Give your name so they know. That means I'm accountable for this phone call.
Yep.
If you have a problem, you've got my name. You know that. The next thing I do is make sure I know their name, and I use their name 3 times in that phone call. So thank you for calling, Mary Beth. And then in course of the conversation, Mary Beth, here's what I can do for you. And at the end of the call, thank you for calling, Mary Beth. Yeah, so I use their name 3 times. 1, it helps me remember, and sometimes I need that.
Yep.
But 2, it lets them know that you're focusing on them. So we all hate the auto answer, scripted call. And I don't think customer service should be scripted. The story of your business, the mission, your core values should be written in stone, but it shouldn't be scripted the way you say it. Everybody delivers in a different way.
Yeah. And the idea of announcing yourself is, it's almost like disarming to the caller. Oh, hi, Dave. What's your response when someone, hey, I'm Dave. Oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you.
Right.
That's a standard thing. So you can take.
It's interesting. When you said that, you reached out your hand to shake,
right?
So it's like that verbal handshake.
Correct. Yeah. And what happens in that moment is no matter how irritated someone is, they're going to give you respect at that minute. Now it may go south after that,
right.
But the last thing you want is who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
Right. Because I will tell you on the other end, if you don't announce your name and I'm calling a business, I'll say, who am I speaking to? Right. Because I want to know who that person is so that I can have a candid conversation with them. That's just common courtesy in my eyes.
And also, if this gets escalated up the line and it gets to the Dave Kozak in any organization, first things Dave's going to say is, well, who did you speak to? Because he's going to want to dial it back down and find out, okay, if we're given the wrong message, how do we do that? Not to ridicule the person, but to help them grow.
Yep.
So one other thing that I want to dig into on customer service and how it relates to every department. So the people that are answering the phone, it's pretty obvious how that's part of customer service. But let's say we're in let's go into the sports world and you're a teacher in the facility. You're teaching, in my case, batting. How is that person connected to customer service?
Well, to me, a phone interaction is in place of an in-person interaction. A Zoom interaction is in place of a phone interaction, right? We have all these different interaction things. When you're in person, right, the first thing you do is introduce yourself, right? So if I'm taking a lesson, let's say, and I know the name of the people that I'm giving a lesson, but I never met them. First thing I'm doing is shaking the parents' hands. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm introducing myself. What's your position? What's your sport? What do you want to work on? What are we doing? That interaction in its own right is step 1, customer service. They know who you are. They can address you. You've given them permission. You've talked to each of the people there. But then as you, if I'm at Grand Slam, I'm coming to the counter. I'm meeting them at the counter. I'm walking them back to the lesson. I'm not sitting back there waiting for them to come back if they've never been there before, right? Now, future interactions. Hey guys, I'm telling them at the end, hey, next time I'll probably be in a lesson. Just come on back, right? And I'll acknowledge you, tip my cap, wave to you, kind of point you in the direction I want you to stand until I'm done the current lesson, or you can start warming up or something like that. So again, to me, it's all about setting clear expectations.
So one of the things that we do at Grand Slam, and you were part of this, is we connect our coaches digitally with our customers, person to person, without going through the front. Not everybody's going to want to do this, but I believe for all the private lessons you've done there, that customer has your cell phone.
Without question.
Now, not everybody's going to like that, but that's how we do it. And so now when people are calling for lessons, they don't call and want a lesson at Grand Slam. They want a lesson with Dave. And, my son works with Dave. It's a bond that they form. And good or bad, if Dave leaves our business for somewhere else, customer's probably going with him because that person has developed that bond.
Yep.
So to go back to the very beginning of this discussion, it starts in developing that relationship before they sign up for a lesson. Here's Dave. We do another thing. Why don't you do a lesson with Dave? See how that goes. And then so we offer 1 lesson, 5 lesson, 10 lessons on the private lesson packages. Invariably, they buy 10 lessons. I mean, that's just how everything goes. They save a little bit of money per lesson, but it starts because the coach sells himself at that first lesson. That begins the customer service.
Yeah. And there's another piece in the athletic world that is huge in customer service. And I know this from coaching every sports team under the sun, from my kids to travel teams to high-level competitions, is a coach that is unwilling to be heard by those in the periphery is a coach that makes people uncomfortable, right? If I'm on the field, I am announcing things loud enough so that the stands, the parents, everybody can hear what I'm doing. So there's no question as to my either expertise or commitment or knowledge of whatever the sport I'm teaching is. Someone can disagree with the drill that I did, but they're going to know why I did the drill and they're going to understand what it's about. And so I think in a lot of instances, especially in the private lesson arena, whether I don't care what sport it is, the kid or the child doesn't make progress if they don't work on their own, right? And so part of teaching a child accountability is using the accountable adult in that. Well, if the accountable adult doesn't know what the coach is assigning, they can't hold their child accountable at home. And so I want to educate not only the kid while I'm teaching the sport, but I want to educate the parents. I want to educate whoever's around so that when they go home, they can replicate, they can mimic, they can model what I do, what I say to their child, right? But you can't do that if you're always pulling the kid in close and you're not sharing the lesson with the parents.
Or if you're putting and a lot of this happens in a lot of different facilities, and I understand parents can be a distraction, but putting them behind glass where they can't hear what the coach is saying, I don't think it's a good thing. We do it with our 4-5-year-old classes. I teach hitting with 5 key points. The kids have to be able to count to 5 and say 5 things. And my instructions when they leave, it's time to go home and teach mom and dad your 5 things. And they get a kick out of that. But I'm finishing the loop is connecting me to child, child to parent, parent to me. So we're completing that loop. One more point in all customer service, and we'll get it out of the sports world for a minute. But if you're in manufacturing, I think that customer experience includes how it's warehoused, how it's shipped. If you put a note in the shipment, there's certain, Warby Parker is noted for this, that, there's a note that goes in, if your order's coming late, then, sorry for the delay, we're busy packing your product in feathers so it will fly. So there's a good way to communicate all the way along the line. If you're shipping a product out and it's dusty, dust it off before you ship it. That's all part of it. That's all going to add to the value down the road.
I'll give you one. I spent a ridiculous amount of money on training equipment in the last 3 years as I was starting to get my health back in line and focus on my own physical fitness and all that. And I came across a company called PRX. PRX is a US based company that builds gym equipment for like tight spaces. Now I don't have a tight space, but the first thing I saw was a squat rack that folds flat up against the wall, and you can pull it down. It's actuary. It's got actuators on it, so it's got pistons that go up and down, and it folds flat against the wall. So I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it the right way. This gym's going to be awesome. We got a nice gym in the house. I put all this up, right? And it comes, the shipping was expensive. And you know, in today's age, like when you're charged shipping, like everybody raises an eyebrow about shipping, right? Well, it got there in the time it was supposed to get there, and every single box. Now I ordered, I don't know, like 800 pounds of weights. I ordered a barbell, a squat rack, mounting racks for the weights. I ordered kettlebell racks, but all kinds of stuff, right? So there's like 30 boxes in my driveway when I get home that day that I have to carry inside. Every single box had some handwritten Sharpie marker motivational thing on it. Like, dude, we're excited you're getting started with this. This is, you can do it. Like every single box.
That's awesome.
Handwritten Sharpie.
I love it.
From their shipping. And it had the people's names who wrote it out of shipping. Like that. Just, and I get goosebumps thinking about it now. Like, take that extra 5 seconds when you're paying for it. You know you're paying a premium, but your people take that second to put motivational stuff on your training equipment. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, and they didn't write, forget about your shipping expense, but you did.
Yeah.
You did. I know we're running near the end of this, but I wanted to get, we don't get through a podcast without referencing a book. So if anybody wants to dig deeper into customer service, my favorite, I think it's Ken Blanchard wrote Raving Fans. And the whole goal with Raving Fans is, if your goal is a satisfied customer, you're reaching way too low. Raving Fans means that someone likes what you do and what you stand for so much that they're going to be out talking about it. So you're going to build your brand. So the first step in customer service is also the first step in your next marketing campaign to get your next customer.
Yep.
So it's a great book. It's another one. Is it Ken Blanchard that wrote that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sheldon Bowles, it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He has co-authors in a lot of his, but it's another one of those that's a very easy read. Ken's stuff is just awesome. Awesome books.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
All right, everybody. This has been Paradigm Playbooks Podcast. We'll talk to you next week. As always, good luck and keep on fighting.
Make it a great week.
Thank you for listening. Visit ParadigmPlaybook.com to discover how we can support you and your business.